It's the top of the hour. Putting the U in HBCU. We are HSRN. You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode, another show of Green Talk for Brown Folks. I got to say happy holidays to you. We are one day away from Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. For all of those out there, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. Always got to be able to celebrate everybody. It's not just about Christmas and whatnot. We're just so excited to be back with you here on HSRN, Heritage Sports Radio Network. You can join us every Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern. And we've got a very special guest with us today that we're going to have a one-on-one conversation with. But first, I really want to just kind of explain to you who this person is, because this is part of our entrepreneur series. We've had a chance to interview multiple entrepreneurs in a lot of different fields as well. And so this person, he is the CEO and owner of Lcp Transportation. It's a risk-based non-emergency transportation company that's a tier 1 provider. They do Medicaid transportation in the state of Indiana. They've been doing that for 22 years. He's been owner and CEO for 22 years. They service about 350,000 members routinely. They have 20,000 Medicaid trips per month. I'm sorry, I meant to say founder of the company Lcp Transportation, and just an amazing person. They do multi-million dollars of revenue annually in the risk-based non-emergency transportation game in Indiana. He also is a real estate investor, a builder and developer. He builds custom homes. He's been doing that for about 25 years. Formerly, he's a philanthropist. He gives back to the Indianapolis community, helps inner city youth, just helps underserved communities, not just in Indianapolis, but in other places as well. And then he's a former athlete. I know he really doesn't like to talk about that a whole lot anymore, being that it was a while back. But he played for the Indianapolis Colts. He was a defensive player for the Kentucky Wildcats, played in the SEC. Was just an amazing brother. And full disclosure, he is my cousin as well. But I pick his brain quite a bit because this person has done some really great things, not only in business and entrepreneurship, but also in the community as well. I'm speaking with Ron Robinson. He is the founder of Lcp Transportation. What's going on, Ron? How are you?
Hey, well, I'm doing well. Hey, I want to appreciate you having me on, Ryan. It's a pleasure and an honor. And I just want to thank you, first of all, and just commend you on all the wonderful work that you've done in a short period of time. It's a wonderful thing to be able to have people come on and talk about different things in and around business and money. Definitely is a great asset to the community.
And I really appreciate that. And what you've done is a real inspiration to a lot of people. So I really thank you for that. And I thank you for coming on the show.
No problem.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Absolutely. So before we get into sort of the crux of the entrepreneurship game, and there are a lot of people that listen to this show here, either on the air, online, or through social media, and they want to get to being an entrepreneur. And with the pandemic, the way that it's been going, it's kind of led this whole great resignation thing, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about that. You've seen it from maybe various different vantage points and perspectives, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I kind of want to talk about just sort of your background and upbringing, and you're not originally from Indiana, but just kind of talk about your upbringing and where you come from, and then how you kind of got into this space here.
Okay. Well, I'll start and just I was born in Lexington, Kentucky. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, where I all of my schooling up to the 12th grade. I graduated from Stratford High School in Nashville, Tennessee, over on the east side. Went to the University of Kentucky on a full football scholarship to play football in the SEC. Started 4 years and had a lot of success there. And really my entrepreneurship started there. I did a lot of different things while I was in college. I started a car wash where I would wash cars. I started my senior year in my spring semester after I had graduated and finished the football. I started this car wash and continued that on when I went to Indianapolis as a free agent to play football. I took it and brought it up to Indianapolis with me and started a mobile car wash and started doing dealership car washing, doing about 900 cars a day for the better part of about 2 years. And that's kind of how my entrepreneurship kind of started. The one thing that I would stress is that I would encourage people, if you want to get into entrepreneurship and you want to do something, just dive in there. It can never hurt. Some people are very hesitant to get started, and you're going to miss 1,000% of the shots that you don't take. So if you don't shoot the ball, you guaranteed you're not going to hit the shot. So I had some early failures. I ran into some difficulties, learned a lot of lessons. And, I tell people all the time, I have never seen a baby who just literally started walking without falling. Mm-hmm. I've never seen a person ride a bicycle without falling off first. I've never seen people do things typically in life without having some level of, failure. So same way with business. I mean, you got to trial and error. You got to learn, and the only way you can learn is by doing.
That's very important, and a lot of people are scared of that failure and rejection, and I think that's the first step is probably the most important step to take, and I think you make a lot of good points about that. And so we're going to continue this conversation with Ron Robinson, founder and owner of Lcp Transportation. I'm so excited to get into this conversation here. We'll come back and we'll have some more one-on-one conversation with Ron. We'll be right back on GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. We're having a one-on-one conversation with founder and owner of Lcp Transportation, Ron Robinson, who is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. He is a real estate investor and developer, and he does a lot of things, and he's here to just provide some just tips and strategies and some of the ways and things that he did on his way to growing his multi-million-dollar medical transport company in the state of Indiana, just to share some tips with you on entrepreneurship and how you can get into that or how you can enhance your game of entrepreneurship. You were playing football for Kentucky. You went and played for the Indianapolis Colts, played for a little bit, and then you got out and really started building your different businesses as an entrepreneur. So then how did you go from having and running a car wash, a mobile wash, to then getting into the medical transport business and with risk-based non-emergency transportation, and how did that come about?
Well, started working for Electronic Data Services, which is EDS. For those of us that are a little older, Ross Perot used to own it in the 80s. So if you're 40 or over, you probably know the name Ross Perot. So he owned that in Plano, Texas, and they are the Medicaid physical agent for, at the time, about half of the states. So what I mean by that is they basically essentially act as an insurance company for the states, and they process the Medicaid claims in the different states. I worked for them, started my career with them, and worked for them for about 6 years. Had an opportunity to start the transportation company because I saw a need, and went from that into the Medicaid transportation space because I had become what's considered a Medicaid expert because I had the opportunity to build the processing system that they used to process claims. Mm-hmm. So I learned and moved around in the Medicaid space for quite a bit, and basically didn't turn down anything that needed to be done. I was there to do it, and I learned a lot in that short period of time. And then the opportunity just presented itself. And I always tell people also that luck or blessing is when preparation meets opportunity. So if you prepare when the opportunity presents itself, then that's luck or a blessing. So that's what happened. I mean, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and the opportunity presented itself, and I took advantage of it. Now, I won't give it 100% credit because at the time, to be honest with you, I didn't necessarily see it or want it. But eventually, I got into the space, and once I was in the space, I just did what my instincts told me, which is put my head down, work hard, focus in on what I need to do and how I need to do it. Football really helped me prepare for life and for entrepreneurship in general. But a lot of the different characteristics that you learn from playing a sport, especially playing it at the level that I played it, it really helps you to prepare for life. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things I've always been really focused on, which is the fundamentals. Fundamentals is what I was, basically drilled into my head at a young age because like I said, I had a lot of success in sports. And so the reason for those successes have to do with the disciplines, the focus, and all the things that go along with playing a sport and playing at a high level.
Absolutely. We're having a one-on-one conversation with founder and owner of Lcp Transportation, Ron Robinson. He's also a real estate investor and developer, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and he is the founder of Lcp Transportation, multi-million-dollar Medicaid transport business in the state of Indiana. Now, Indiana, is that the only state that you operate this company here?
Yes, it is, and I'm glad you asked that question because, in Indiana, we started in Indiana. Like I said, we've been doing this for 22 years. I started with one company, and then I grew to and added a second, and then a third. In my world, I'm in a very niche market. We only have 5 customers that I could potentially have, and we have 3 of the 5. So I'm in a very niche business, and you got to make sure that you know what you're doing. It's has a very, very high barrier to entry, and so therefore, it requires a lot of focus and a lot of time. So, a lot of people have asked me, why haven't I expanded into other states? Well, it's so much to do here that I'm a bird in hand versus a bird in bush type of guy, and so instead of going out trying to, go find the bird in the bush, I'd rather deal with and handle and make sure that I do the best I can with the bird that is in my hand. Mm-hmm. And so therefore I've always thought of it like, hey, this is where I live. This is where I'm familiar with. I understand and know the terrain and the geography. And so therefore, I feel like that this is the best place for me to be successful. And trust me, there's plenty of money to be made and plenty of opportunities right here without me having to go run all over the states, all over multiple states.
Absolutely. That's really good to talk about that and that you explained and expounded on that. We're going to continue this conversation with Ron Robinson, founder and owner of LCP Transportation. I'm so excited to get into this conversation here. We'll come back and we'll have some more one-on-one conversation with Ron. We'll be right back on GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. We're having a one-on-one conversation with founder and owner of LCP Transportation, Ron Robinson, who is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. He is a real estate investor and developer, and he does a lot of things, and he's here to just provide some just tips and strategies and some of the ways and things that he did on his way to growing his multi-million-dollar medical transport company in the state of Indiana, just to share some tips with you on entrepreneurship and how you can get into that or how you can enhance your game of entrepreneurship. I want to ask you about some of the obstacles that maybe you feel that new entrepreneurs go through, maybe something that you went through and how maybe you overcame some of that. I do believe one of the biggest obstacles, I think, is giving up too soon, or maybe just from my vantage point, a lot of people give up before they hit just before they get that success, as an entrepreneur. And I think more African Americans are starting to really go the entrepreneurial route. So for those that are listening to somebody like you that has done it on such a high level, some people may be like, well, I can't ever get to that level, but you don't want to sell yourself short. But just to get in is one of the ones you talked about. But what are some of the obstacles and things that you got, when you started doing this, and then also how you overcame that?
Well, I want to start by saying this, and this is something else that I always say, is everyone thinks that their baby is cute. And what I mean by what I mean is everyone with a business or an idea thinks it is a great concept. So, but the truth is, if consumers don't buy in, you'll be out of business before you begin. So, you just got to understand, everybody has a great idea. And sometimes you can turn those great ideas into a wonderful revenue-generating business. But unfortunately, if it was that easy, everybody would be in business. Mm-hmm. So let me give you another good example. You will agree, and probably everybody that's listening to this telecast will agree, that vegetables are good for you. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody that doesn't agree with that, but everybody doesn't eat vegetables. Now, I'm not a smoker, and I'm not a big drinker, but cigarettes say they will basically kill you on the side of the cigarette. Surgeon General has made that part known very clear, but a lot of people smoke. Now, that's your prerogative, and that's why we live in America, so you can make your own decisions. But the bottom line is, what I'm trying to say is that it seems like it would be a slam dunk that everybody would eat vegetables or fruits because they're good for you. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't. So having a great idea and think it's going to be successful just because it's a great idea and because it's your idea doesn't make it a slam dunk that everybody's going to buy in. So, that's the first thing that I would make sure that you take the emotion out of it, basically. Mm-hmm. The emotion from the business concept that you're going after. Most people that are going after to be an entrepreneur are really good at whatever the task or service is that they are trying to go into. This case in point, say you're a drywaller, and now you want to start a drywall business. Well, you probably know how to hang drywall, I would assume, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
But you probably are not. You probably have some deficiencies around how to schedule the business make it where you can go from one to the other, how to, collect your money on a timely basis so you can pay the bill, how to source things that you need to make the job easier, how to deal with situations that may come up from time to time, how to deal with competitors that may be, infiltrating or infringing on your business. So those are the struggles that you may need help with. And, business is risk. And you got to understand the risk that is business. So, I talk about, being risk adverse, and also, like to look at it like I feel like I have less risk working for myself than I do working for someone else because I'm in control of my destiny. Mm-hmm. There's variables and there's fundamentals to this, but that, once again, doesn't ensure success. So you got to make sure and understand the basics of business. It's a supply and demand. If you provide a service or a product to a person at a price that they are willing to pay, and the quality is to a point where people are willing to pay for it, and it's enough to make you more money than you have to spend to do the business, you're going to have a successful business. Mm-hmm. It's just math. So it's literally just math. So anybody out there that wants to start a business, you need to understand value. Value is probably the most important term that you will hear on this radio today, on this telecast, is about value. Value is where you are bringing to someone something that they need or want, and you bring it in such a way that they're willing to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And so, employees, when you're working for somebody, you need to bring value. If you continue to bring value, you'll be paid for the work that you do. If you don't bring value or you don't have value, then you're less likely to get what you want and get to the point where you can be successful. Now, everybody, the way I look at it is entrepreneur, where you work for somebody or not. If you work for somebody else, you should treat it like it's your own business and come to work, ready to work, and put in the work that needs to be done on a daily basis the way it needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And so when you get ready to venture into your own business, you already have the right mentality, the right work ethic, and the right focus that you need in order to be successful.
See, that's you dropping those dimes and dropping that knowledge. I'm sitting there, I'm just getting kind of lost in the information that you're giving me, because, it's so important. You got to bring, talking about bringing that value. And once people see value in you, see value in the business, the service that you provide, obviously then your business is going to make money. Or it's not always necessarily that cut and dry, I would imagine, but, that's a big player when it comes to that. That's really, really awesome advice and really good to hear. I really hate to end this conversation, but we're going to continue this conversation, and we're going to have Ron Robinson back next week on New Year's Eve to really just continue diving into this topic of entrepreneurship and how you don't have to do it necessarily on that grand a scale of where he's doing it, but just to get you to where you want to be to get started, or if you're doing it to enhance that. And so we are so excited to talk to founder and owner of Lcp Transportation, LLC, Ron Robinson. He'll come back next week and we'll dive right back into it and continue this conversation again on GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa to all of you out there. And if I don't hear from you between now and next week, have a great holiday week. and we're getting ready to get you boosted into 2022 on our entrepreneurship series, and we're so excited. So thank you so much. This is Ryan Marshall, GTBF host, Green Talk for Brown Folks. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN. Follow Ryan's social media on Twitter at Ryan H. Marshall and on Instagram, RHM WealthWave. You can also connect with him via email at ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. That's ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. Join him next Friday at 1 p.m. for another edition of Green Talk for Brown Folks.